Barbara McInnes has worked tirelessly to enhance the culture of philanthropy in Ottawa and beyond. President and CEO of the Community Foundation of Ottawa, she has developed new avenues and partnerships that have enabled generous citizens to invest in their community. She has brought about a tremendous increase in donations and has ensured funding for a great number of charitable, social, healthcare, and arts organizations. She has also helped to steer the Community Foundations of Canada and the International Transatlantic Community Foundation Network, and has fostered numerous local foundations across the country. Generous with her time, she continues to provide leadership to such organizations as Carleton University and the Ottawa School of Art. Mrs. McInnes.
Welcome to everyone joining us this evening to celebrate the incredible Barb McInnes. I'm Russ Mills. And I'm honored to co-host this important night as an old friend and colleague of Barb's with another great old friend and colleague of hers, Jackie Holzman, the former mayor of Ottawa.
The magic word is old. Thank you, Russ. Barb is missed every day by her family and her friends, the Ottawa community, and by people who she impacted by her generosity and warmth in every corner of the world. Barb McInnes was widely respected, not just for the organizations she led, like the Community Foundation of Ottawa, but for her mentorship, for fostering collaboration, for helping funders and donors connect, and pushing for inclusivity and sustainable philanthropy in Ottawa and beyond. And as mayor, for 6 years actually, I was on the nominating committee for the Community Foundation, and following that, I was on the board for 6 years with Russ, so we saw her in action, and we were also friends. So now it's taken a village to see lessons in philanthropy come together. So we thank you, Glenn, Barb's husband, for his commitment to this wonderful book. Stand.
Tonight, as we celebrate Barb's legacy, we launch Lessons in Philanthropy, a book that has been lovingly published by Barb's family. You'll hear some local voices this evening of how Barb impacted their lives, saved and changed countless lives through her work in philanthropy, and was also a devoted mother, grandmother, wife, and friend. You'll also hear from people Barb met in her work in other parts of the world. Her impact had no boundaries.
So, many individuals are joining us this evening. They contributed to the book. And we would ask all of you who contributed to the book in any way to please stand and be recognized. Everybody that had something to do with preparing this book. So, you can see it's more than a village. The list of people to thank is long. Please recognize the following sponsors who made tonight possible. The Ottawa Art Gallery, of course, the Ottawa Community Foundation, Doherty and Associates, GGFL, Gowlings, WLG, and Rogers TV. And you'll see the names on the book as well.
Our program this evening will be followed by some food and beverages, so please stay and make a new friend or connect with an old friend. We would like to start by introducing Leah Eustace McInnes, Barb and Glenn's daughter, to say a few words to kick off our evening.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. We gather tonight on the unceded ancestral territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe Nation, whose presence here reaches back to time immemorial. I honor the Algonquin Anishinaabe people, and I pay respect to elders past and present, as well as future generations. As we celebrate my mother and the power of story, I want to recognize that storytelling has always been a living practice on this land, carried in language, in memory, and in relationships. Acknowledging the land is one small step in an ongoing commitment to learning, right relations, and action. In that spirit, I invite all of us to reflect on what accountability looks like beyond tonight, whether that's learning more about Algonquin histories and languages, supporting Indigenous writers and creators, or building relationships with Algonquin communities, such as Kitikin-Zibi Anishinaabe and the Algonquins of Pikwakanagan First Nation. Thank you, Miigwech. Thank you, merci.
Thank you very much, Leah. We are delighted to hear from Zita Cobb this evening. Zita contributed to Lessons in Philanthropy and was a dear friend of Barb's for many years. A proud eighth-generation Fogo Islander, Zita headed back to her home following her work as a CFO of JDS Uniphase. Heading up Shorefest Foundation and the Fogo Island Inn are both passions of hers and of Barb's as well. So let's hear from Zita Cobb. There she is.
Hello, Glenn. Hello, everyone. My name is Zita Cobb, and I wish I could be there with you, but unfortunately I couldn't be. I'm sure Barb is there with you, however. I do want to take a few minutes and read the foreword to the book that you are bringing into the world tonight. It starts with a quote by a climate author named Kate Marvel, which is, "We live in a terrible world. We live in a wonderful world. The world will be what we make it." Barb McInnes showed us how to make the world, and lucky us who knew her and learned directly from her. These 36 lessons from the legacy of Barb McInnes are a primer on how to be and how to get good things done in this world that we are making together. The stories are testimonials to the rare force of energy, joy, patience, clarity, and light that was Barb McInnes. They also show us how to see the world underneath the world, how to see the potential that exists just beyond what is readily visible, and how to call, nudge, and encourage people to their best. Barb knew that courage comes from encouragement. These stories show us how to encourage. If you missed the opportunity to work with Barb, then this book is for you too. It knits together learnings from Barb in 36 accessible, relatable, doable lessons. If you knew Barb, this book is definitely for you. As she did in life, Barb continues to draw us together. We need that now more than ever. The challenges that we are facing are not simple, and we desperately need the sum of our actions to add up. This book holds insights for aligning energies, for seeing the connective tissue, and most of all, for activating the us in everything. Thank you, Barb, and thank you, Glenn, for bringing the lessons in this book to life. Have a great evening. Enjoy each other's company.
Thank you very, very much. And it's my pleasure now to introduce Alex Munter, who's no stranger to public life in Ottawa. But I also want to acknowledge Yasser Naqvi, who also is no stranger to public life, our Member of Parliament. Thank you for being here, Yasser. So, Alex's new role as Chief Executive Officer of the Canadian Medical Association, he brings a wealth of experience from his time leading CHEO from 2011 to 2024. Alex served in municipal politics on countless boards, including the Children's Aid Society, Kids Health Alliance, the Community Foundation of Ottawa, just to name a few. Please welcome Alex Munter.
Thank you, Jackie, and good evening, fellow members of the Barb McInnes community, because that's what we are. And, on the way here, it's been a while since I've been on the board of the Community Foundation of the Grants Committee, but there was a time that I would have been able to drive through Ottawa and point out all the places that Barb McInnes and the Community Foundation had touched, had caused to happen, had helped generate, had brought people together, and this, of course, is one of those is one of those places. And I often think of Barb as one of those people. Of course, we all knew her and loved her. She is one of those people who has affected the lives of tens and tens and tens of thousands of people who will never know who she was or what her name was, but whose life is better and richer and stronger because of her commitment to community. Now, Barb, of course, was a tremendous organizer. She was persistent. She was tough. I was reading some of this, made her sound like a kind of bit angelic, which I don't think would be correct. And I met Barb just a few years into the existence of the Community Foundation. The Community Foundation was a little toddler that she had inherited. And my experience, and I've talked to a few people on the way in, I had a similar experience with Barb as many others in those initial meetings with her, which is that, as I look around this room, there are many, many people in this room that are exceptional community organizers like she was. But that wasn't her superpower. Her superpower was connecting with somebody who knew that she was going to ask you to do something, and you knew you were going to say no, right? Because you were too tired, you were too busy, you were overextended, you had other priorities. And by the time you left the conversation with Barb, you had joined a committee, signed up, made a donation. And I don't know what to call that. I don't know what the word for that is, but it's a unique and special kind of magic that animated all of the work that she did and that brought us together to support that work, and that has turned the Community Foundation from that idea, from that toddler that it was when I met Barb, into the powerhouse of community impact that it is today. And that and the spirit that Barb leaves in us and with us and for us is just such a remarkable legacy. So I'm proud to be here. I know all of you are proud to be here and to celebrate this remarkable woman.
Thank you, Alex. It's now my pleasure to introduce Michael Maidmont. Michael is the president and CEO of the Ottawa Community Foundation. As you know, that's the job Barb McInnes had for many years. And Michael is an experienced philanthropy executive. He's also led the Ottawa Cancer Foundation and Ottawa Food Bank. And Michael serves on many boards that focuses on the mental health initiatives, food insecurity, and health issues that are top of mind now for so many of us in our community. Welcome, Michael.
Okay, I have new progressive glasses, so I want to be able to read what I'm about to say and not fall down those stairs as I get used to these things. I too, we all know Barb is an angel, but I saw her really angry once. And I'm a Newfoundlander, and we were having lunch together one day, and Fogo was not the kind of place it is now since, Zita has really built the inn and everything that's happening with Shorefast. And it was kind of a place as a kid that, we kind of made fun of. It wasn't a great place that you wanted to go to. And I said something to Barb about Fogo, and she unloaded on me about the whole project and everything. And so I did see her angry that one time, but only that one time. When I first joined the Ottawa Community Foundation 2 years ago, one name came up over and over, and that was Barb McInnes. And people just didn't talk about her as the former CEO. They talked about her as the heart of the foundation. They described her as a connector, a builder, and a champion. And as I found my own footing here, I came to understand exactly why. She didn't set out to build an institution. She set out to build a community where generosity was never abstract, it was personal, it was rooted in relationships, and always about helping Ottawa become a place where everyone could thrive. She knew that the true strength of Community Foundation isn't in its balance sheet, but in the trust it builds, the conversations it sparks, and the steady work of bringing people together to make something good happen. I also want to share a personal story because, like many of you, my connection to Barb runs very deep. Back in 2008, I was chair of the city's Poverty Issues Advisor Committee, which advised City Hall, City Council on issues related to poverty, and working alongside Barb on Ottawa's first poverty reduction strategy. And it was around that time the Ottawa Food Bank was searching for its next CEO. I reached out to somebody that I considered a mentor and a friend for advice, and she told me I wasn't ready and that I shouldn't apply for the job. I was crushed. You know when you really want something, you might have a bulletin board, you put a picture of that thing, you know. I wanted a motorcycle once. My wife told me that was never going to happen, but it stayed there for about a year. Well, I had a picture of this role being my dream in this sector. But Barb was incredible. I was discouraged, but then I called her. And in her way, she cut right through the noise. She told me that this was totally nonsense. I absolutely should apply. And with her encouragement and support, I did. And I went on to lead the Ottawa Food Bank for 7 years. But that's really who Barb was. She didn't just build organizations, she built people. She saw potential where others saw limitations, and she gave you the confidence to step into it. Her belief in me changed the course of my career, and her belief in countless others has shaped the course of this community. This book is a tribute to that legacy. It honors Barb's leadership in the countless ways she shaped not just this foundation, but our city itself. And her influence continues to guide us today. We see her fingerprints in the way we engage with the community, in how we treat our donors as partners, and in how we always ask not just what we can do, but what more is possible. As we celebrate her legacy tonight, we also look ahead. Today, the Ottawa Community Foundation continues to focus on urgent issues of our time, issues like healthcare, affordable housing, food insecurity, mental health, climate resilience, and our connection to arts and culture as a driver of healthy communities. We're mobilizing generosity at an unprecedented scale, investing with purpose, and convening partners across sectors to drive lasting solutions. The Ottawa Community Foundation believes in the power of generosity to transform lives and help our community thrive. We mobilize and steward philanthropic resources, connect people and ideas, and convene partners to tackle our community's most pressing challenges. We manage more than 1,100 funds now, grant tens of millions of dollars annually, and lead initiatives to ensure a vibrant, inclusive, and sustainable Ottawa for generations to come. Last year, and I think Barb would be really proud of this, the Ottawa Community Foundation provided $50.4 million in grants to 874 charities. And since our work began in 1987, I always reverse the 7 and the 8, since 1987, the Ottawa Community Foundation has now provided more than $266.2 million in grants to our local community. Barb showed us, it's pretty amazing. Barb showed us what's possible when generosity and vision come together. I think the best way to honor her legacy is to continue investing in our community's future. At the Ottawa Community Foundation, we invite everyone to be part of that work by giving strategically, by partnering with us, and by helping generosity take root in ways that will benefit Ottawa for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I know Barb was a supporter of yours, and I think she would be very pleased that the Community Foundation is now in your hands. I'm pleased to honor our next guest, or introduce our next guest, Manjeet Bazi. I first met Manjeet back on the board of the Community Foundation in Barb's time. And Manjeet is a respected businesswoman who gives back to the community. As Synapse City's founding director, Manjeet sparks collaboration to bridge divides. She's committed endless hours to her volunteer work, including TELUS Ottawa Community Board, HP Ward Foundation, the Center for Social Enterprise Development. Please welcome Manjeet Bazi.
Taken out some earplugs. I have a little bit of vertigo going on, but wouldn't have missed this event. Some folks here I haven't seen for many years, and really it feels like a reunion. So Barb is present, very much so, and I think our hearts are all full. At its Greek root, philanthropy means love of humanity, and Barb made that tangible. And I think all those who were touched by our lives can understand that. We've heard the wide arc of her impact, and I want to name what I think is its source. Leadership out there begins with leadership in here. And Barb led well because she knew who she was. She was clear, she was joyful. Oh, a little bit closer. Okay. Do I have to repeat myself? No. Okay. All right. Oh. Okay, yeah, I got a loud voice, actually. Thanks, Elspeth. She was clear, she was joyful, she was grounded in her values. She was a small, bright constellation that people could navigate community by, their even lives by. And from that center, she poured herself into this city and beyond, actually, nationally and internationally. She could see the possible just beyond what was visible. She paired that sight with steady pragmatism, looking beyond the horizon while staying present in the moment and being able to focus on the details. I was 28 when she asked me to help build what became Leadership Ottawa, a community leadership program. I don't think she realized how young I was. I actually probably should have been a part of that first cohort myself instead of helping design the program. And as Jackie teased me earlier this year before her 90th, she said to me, "How old are you?" I will not divulge that here, but she said to me, "You're still a baby, and yet it feels like you've been around for ages." And so without Barb's seeing and naming, I wouldn't have met so many of you here today. As Russ said, being on the board, so many others here, and had the privilege of doing the work alongside you on projects that have helped shape all of us and have helped shape our city and beyond. And Barb was a connector with purpose. At the foundation, I remember I was the board lead for the Youth and Philanthropy program that we had in the early 2000s. And is Madin here? No, well, Madin was the staff lead, and now he's a senior vice president at the Boys and Girls Club. And it just shows you what happens when you believe in people. And Saturday mornings, we would gather with these students who were 18 years and maybe up to about 21, and they would sit there, they would be curious, they would ask questions, they would be a little bit unsure of themselves, and then they would sort of all of a sudden get it. And, they were not being lectured at. What they were doing was they were practicing being deliberators, looking at what to sort of focus on and how to make decisions for the city that they would inherit, making trade-offs as well. They were learning to move money with care. Now, and in our current moment, that's sometimes I feel hurried, it's heavily measured, and it's often polarized. We need a more, what I would say, human lens, a matriarchal, regenerative energy that's capacious, that's nourishing, and that's steady. And I saw that in Barb for all the years that I spent with her. People at the center, numbers in service of the people, patience for the deep work that actually shifts systems, and a conviction that a healthy city isn't only triage. It also needs what steadies the spirit, spaces of welcome, stories and murals, musics and festivals, the everyday art, well, the everyday arts of belonging is what I would call that. Measure what matters, trust, dignity, possibility, and let generosity move us toward them. And Barb was also clear. I'll pick up on what Michael was saying. Once I brought a proposal to her, she couldn't support, and she basically said to me, no. And she didn't wobble in her no. And I remember being absolutely crushed and actually also being a little angry at Barb. And I was surprised too. But then that no, I mean, what that taught me is that a clear, wholehearted no is better than a little maybe, right? It's kinder to have a clear yes and a clear no. And I try to practice that. And that no actually opened into a better yes. It opened into every month a tea, a coffee, or a lunch where we discussed the work. We were doing learning and life, and we were discussing, well, we were learning in reciprocity, because when I wanted to say, Barb, I owe you something for these lunches, she said, you are giving me much more than you even know. And with Barb, mentoring wasn't a ladder, it was a circle. It was a circle. It was the courage to disagree and not disconnect. And if I needed one image, I would say it's like the mycelium under the forest, if you know what that is. It's quiet. Well, Barb wasn't always quiet. But anyways, it's quiet, it's alive, it's connecting roots, it's moving nutrients where they're needed. Individuals, communities, and cities, we flourish when we nourish each other's interdependence. That's how resiliency and vibrancy grows. So let us keep seeing the possibilities in people, especially those that are different from us. Let us connect gifts that belong together. Let us choose when it matters, the deeper, the slower work that really changes things, and protect what's fragile, fund what's flourishing, not only what is urgent. That's how, I'll repeat myself, that's how resiliency and vibrancy grows. But anyways, make room for the beautiful and the brave. I learned that definitely from Barb. She would always say, fund what's going well, not just what's wrong. So Barb, thank you for the sights, thank you for the bridges and the clarity. We will carry your way of leading, which to me is that bright light in the eyes, backbone in your work, and absolutely a fire in your heart for the passion. And let's build this community, and we will continue to work for the city that you loved so dearly. And thank you, Glenn, thank you, Emily and Leah, for including me in this event. And here's to you, Barb. I know you're here.
Many thanks, Manjeet. So it's my privilege now to introduce Dorothea Jaeger. She's an incredibly accomplished person. Dorothea has a business degree from the European Business School, Ostrich-Winkel, and she is a founding member of the Community Foundation of Hanover. She served on the board for 10 years and chaired the organization from 2007 to 2023. And Barb was particularly proud of how she extended the values of the Community Foundation all over the world. She's had marvelous stories to tell us. And Dorothea is just one of the ones that is going to tell us about it. Dorothea's passion is to ensure that this citizen-driven organization, Community Foundation, focused on fostering civic engagement. So let's hear from Dorothea in this video recording.
A very warm hello from Hanover in Germany. My name is Dorothea Jaeger, and I have been on the board of the Community Foundation of Hanover for 26 years. I'm very glad, grateful, and a little bit proud that I had the chance to take part in the Transatlantic Community Foundation Network, and that's where I met Barbara, as we were on the same working groups, like fundraising, operating costs, and donor services. Barbara impressed me because she was so authentic and convincing that her story of the rising of the Community Foundation of Ottawa was a bit similar to the way we did it in Hanover, in Germany. So I learned a lot of her and got to know a wonderful personality. Barb planted many healthy seeds in Hanover. And these seeds are still growing and turned to a wonderful tree.
Many thanks, Dorothea. It's my honor to introduce Char Mollison. Char was Vice President of the Council on Federations and past chair of CAF America. She was a senior fellow at the Center for Nonprofits, Philanthropy, and Social Enterprise at George Mason University. We'll now hear from Char Mollison, also through a video.
My name is Char Mollison, and many years ago, at the US-based Council on Foundations, I had responsibility for services to members, including community foundations and international grant makers. In Barb's role as a member of the Transatlantic Community Foundation Network, she was active in the Council on Foundations and served on our committees. So it was a privilege to be asked to review the manuscript for this new book about her extraordinary work and leadership. I found the Lessons in Philanthropy to be an antidote to the arrogance of power and big money that can impact not just philanthropy and communities, but nation states as well. We Americans have a lot to learn from our Canadian neighbors.
A lot of truth in that. Thank you, Char, for reminding us. Our next guest, Christina Morgan, is coming from beautiful Newfoundland. Christina is a proud certified fundraising executive and is currently the Senior Development Officer at the Healthcare Foundation. She is known for her high-energy, results-driven approach and communication skills. Christina also shared her voice as the commentator for Skate Canada. Christina shares her thoughts in this short video.
Hi, my name is Christina Morgan, former president of AFP Newfoundland and Labrador chapter. With 3 decades of experience in the charitable sector, Lessons in Philanthropy, the legacy of Barbara McInnes, truly resonated with me. This book is more than a tribute, it's a practical guide for those of us working in smaller AFP chapters or nonprofit organizations. It offers a powerful example of leadership rooted in humility, heart, and vision. Barbara McInnes may have led quietly, but her impact was extraordinary. Through 36 heartfelt reflections, the book reveals how she transformed philanthropy by building partnerships, inspiring generosity, and always putting people first. During my career in the fundraising world, I've benefited from mentorship both as a mentor and a mentee. And Barb's story reminded me why mentorship matters so deeply. Her legacy continues today with the Barbara McInnes Mentorship Program, which we're proud to offer here at AFP Newfoundland and Labrador. This program connects emerging fundraisers with experienced professionals across the province, reflecting the same values Barb championed: generosity, community, and growth. Whether you're just beginning your professional career or leading an organization, this book is full of timeless lessons on mentorship, leadership, and making meaningful difference. Barb didn't just raise money, she raised expectations. And because of her, we're continuing to raise each other up. If you care about building stronger communities through philanthropy, I recommend this book. Pick up a copy. You'll walk away inspired and better equipped to lead with purpose and heart.
Many thanks, Christina. This evening, Barb's spirit is in the room here with all of us, and we want to look back, this time in Barb's own words.
What is your personal story behind TCFN?
I'm going to tell you a story about our foundation as it relates to the larger world, and it has an East German connection. So here's a story. We tell this story often in our community, but this is the first time I've ever had a chance to tell it in Germany. Our foundation is in its 21st year this year. We are located in the capital of Canada, and as a result, there are lots of embassies, and we have a certain international aspect to our community. But our community foundation is very locally based. And when we were just 2 years old, we needed to find an office where we could run the organization. We had been doing it from a little borrowed space. And one of our volunteers found us some donated space in a huge office. And we had no furniture, we had nothing. We didn't own anything except some files. So when the day we were moving in, I was trying to decide how are we going to set ourselves up. I don't have a desk, I don't have telephones, I don't have paper, I have nothing. And I was waiting for the elevator. And this was in 1989. As I looked at all of the other tenants in the building, I noticed the East German Embassy was in this building. So I stopped at that floor and I knocked on the door. And I said, "Would you be having any furniture that you would like to give away?" And they said, "Yeah." So I walked in and we were given desks and waste paper baskets and paper and all sorts of things to set up our office as they disbanded the East German Embassy because it was no longer needed, because the wall had come down and Germany was unified. So we have a wonderful connection to the East Germans, who were very, very kind to us. They were very glad to be able to donate to the beginning of our foundation and to help us get going. So that's my connection with Germany and with East Germany. And it was very positive. Of course, when we explained to the ambassador what our organization did, he was very puzzled. He didn't understand how philanthropy worked at all, but he was very glad to help out.
We have a word that describes Barb. She has chutzpah, if you know what it means. She also was my dear friend, and in fact, I knew her father, Al Gamble, first, because in the 1970s and early 80s, I worked at the Social Planning Council, and Al was at the United Way. And I remember as soon as I was elected, early 1980s, Barb came to see me at City Hall because the city had a foundation. And to make a long story short, she convinced us that we should turn the funds from the City of Ottawa Foundation to start the Community Foundation. She had chutzpah. She has left a wonderful legacy, and her family is part of that. I'm sure they are so proud, and Glenn, we are so proud of you. I'd like us to hear a word from Leah and from Emily. Leah is a dedicated fundraising professional with ACFRE. She currently works at U Ottawa and has impacted countless charities all over the world through her thought-provoking presentations through the Association of Fundraising Professionals. She has served on various boards and committees advancing philanthropy. And Emily is a senior art consultant for over 30 years of experience in curating collections for corporations and private citizens. She is the founder of the award-winning platform I Buy Art, EYE Buy Art. She is known for championing diverse artistic voices and impactful programs for clients such as Scotiabank and Fairmont Hotels. Please welcome Leah and Emily.
Am I going first? Okay. Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. As you've no doubt figured out, this is not just about the launch of a book. It's a celebration of a remarkable life. Our mom, Barb, touched the lives of so many people in this community and far beyond, across the ocean and around the world. She had an incredible gift for bringing people together, for inspiring generosity, and for making you feel like you could be a part of something larger than yourself. She did that with us as well. Seeing all of you here reminds us that her legacy extends not only in the work she did, but also to the lives she touched and the friendships she built. So on behalf of our family, then there's lots of us here. There's sisters, there's brother, there's grand people. So on behalf of all of us, thank you for coming to honor her, to remember her, and to celebrate the lessons she left us.
Mine's a little longer.
That's okay.
First, I
Take
want to
your
take a
space.
picture of everybody, because this is so cool. This is not going to happen again, so, you know, if you could all just move in the... Thanks. My mom died 4 years ago, so we're running a little late. Sorry about that. My mom's passing left a big gaping hole in our lives, and it's taken time for us to adjust to a new reality without her in it. Certainly, this book would not have taken the shape it had without the power of time. And being in the field that I am, I think this is what all great art is about. It's about having the perspective of time, to be reflective and to take pause and to create something beautiful out of something so difficult. So I was listening to this podcast the other day.
Of course you were.
It was an interview with the music producer Rick Rubin after he wrote his book, The Creative Act. They were talking about greatness and the idea of greatness as not so much an end result, but the simple act of doing something that comes from the heart. The idea of putting all of our purest intention into this thing, a gift of ourself as the best we can do and offering it into the world. Greatness, therefore, is the act of creation itself. And it is in this spirit of greatness that this book came into being. This was a remarkable feat, and I am grateful to my dad for this act of creation. It was a feat of greatness that helped to mend the threads of grief and gave birth to a legacy that my son, for example, will be able to turn to, and to hear greatness in others who so very generously shared their stories about his grandmother. I'd like to thank everybody who worked on this book, the contributors certainly, and to Russ Mills, Jackie Holtzman, and Eric Fletcher in particular for their patience, for their compassion, for their time, and for their generosity. And to the book editor, Lisa McDonald, who didn't know my mom at the beginning of this process, but came to know her through her act of greatness in working on this book. So where on earth do we go from here? I believe we go full circle into what my mom's greatest act of greatness was, community. My mom knew she couldn't change the world, but she understood deeply the power of community. Now more than ever, I think we need to tap into the beautiful art of listening and turning to our neighbor to listen deeply to the story they have to tell, even right here in this room. The special coming together that won't happen exactly again in the same way that it is occurring now, hence my photo. I am humbled by all the greatness in this room full of people that Barbara McInnes, my mom, brought together. A final act of partnership between my mom and dad. I have one request. In the spirit of community, I warmly invite anyone whose story may not have been heard in this book, whether or not you knew my mom, to share your reflections and memories. We've created a website at barbaraslegacy.ca to bring these voices together into a collective story, and your contribution would mean so much. And for me personally, where do I go after such a profound loss? My mom, although she has taken on a new form, is still my greatest ally. And I would like to invite my son, Gideon Gallivan, to stand up and read a piece of art in the form of a poem, whose gift of greatness I'd like to share with you, written by one of my closest friends, Ruth Richardson.
She called me a beautiful ancient warrior. I liked the notion, but I didn't see it myself. She said, "Close your eyes and try not to see it, but feel it." And so I sat, eyes closed, and felt the spirit of bravery and truth, not in body and bone, but as a mysterious energy coursing in my veins from so long ago. It was the bravery and truth, not of my own making, but hers, for she is the warrior from before time began, in the fight for justice, for peace, for love, and I, simply a vessel to embody her spirit on this earth in my own imperfect ways. "Put on my armor of light," she said. "Stand with your eyes fixated on what is good, what is true. Stand firm in the fight for justice. Let me fill you with all that I am, which is love and love alone. I am an ancient warrior carrying inside me her spirit of bravery and truth, fighting to infuse this beautiful, broken world with the light that is the source of this universe, the only light, the perfect love that will save us from ourselves." Thank you.
There's one more. Thank you, Gideon. Good job. That was really great. That's my nephew. Since my mom loved nothing more than good company, good conversation, and a good party, I hope you'll all stay a while. Although maybe you're saying this too. You are? You can say it too. Oh, I can say it too. I hope you'll stay a while and enjoy some pizza, which is now cold, but who doesn't love cold pizza? So the donuts and a drink and spend some time together. She would be smiling so hard right now. I can feel it. Okay, and now Jackie's going to say the same thing, I think.
No, don't go. So,
Don't go?
Glenn, come on up here and be with your family. Everybody would like to. And your other grandson, come up too. Your other grandson. So, thank you very, very much to Glenn, to your family. This is really your legacy, and your book, and all of the people here. So, I want to thank everybody. You can go and sit down now. Yeah. I want to thank you all for attending. Make sure you receive a copy of your book. Somebody said pick up the book. I think somebody picked up my copy of the book that was right here on the pen. I'll get it again. So, make sure you receive your lessons in philanthropy. We certainly have enjoyed hearing so many people who have impacted by Barb. And now over to my co-MC.
And as we wind up this evening, we also want to thank our sponsors again, the Ottawa Art Gallery, the Ottawa Community Foundation, GGFL, Gowlings WLG, Doherty and Associates, and Rogers TV Ottawa. And thank you, Jackie, for hosting this, co-hosting this event with me tonight. And most of all, our thanks go to Glenn, whose love for Barb and his passion for this project made this evening and this book possible. Thank you. Have a lovely evening.
A very, very big thank you to Sam LaPrade. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, drinks and pizza.
McInnes I met back in the 80s. She and her father started the Community Foundation, and I got involved with the Community Foundation over the years. And for me, the highlight was that we both received the Order of Canada together at the same ceremonies, and we celebrated together afterwards. So that was the highlight of many, many fun and memorable times with Barb. She was just a wonderful, wonderful friend, and I miss her dearly.
Listen, I had the opportunity to meet Barb years and years ago, probably about 2011. It was my first interaction with Barb. And, you know, she came into my then office at City Hall, within 30 seconds, she'd explained what the Community Foundation was and the pressing business that brought her there. But the thing that I very, very quickly realized was that far more important than the Community Foundation was Barb's connection to everybody in our community who made the community move forward. And in the years that followed, I realized that there are so many people in our community whose lives were improved because of things she touched and projects that she was involved in, either personally or through the foundation, you know, that it would be impossible for all of those people to ever know her or her to know those people.
There are among us some amazing people who work selflessly to turn philanthropic dollars into useful services for local people. We've delighted in finding ways to connect you all, people who care with causes that matter.
Barb McInnes meant a lot to me. We didn't know each other super well, but I'd like to joke that I am the first and only recipient of the Barbara McInnes Junior Superhero of the Year Award, which is a mouthful. And I met Barb at that award ceremony, and I just thought to myself, first off, what a titan. But also, she told me really simply, I'm going to be watching your career. And for me, for somebody at that stature, at that stage in my life, that really meant a lot. And it's the classic example of when a more mature person tells you that they believe in you, you tend to believe it and you carry it on. And I like to think about Barb in those kinds of moments where I'm like, do I really belong in this room? Can I really do this? And I think of Barb and I think, yes, I can.
Well, you know, I could, and in my mind's eye, I'm picturing getting in the car with you and taking any route anywhere in Ottawa. And along the way, we would pass so many things that have a Community Foundation connection. I know this, the community doesn't necessarily put it all together, but for me, that's part of the fabric of the city.
I think we have to just keep talking about it. You know, the more that we manifest, the more that we talk about philanthropy, and the more that we find what philanthropy means for us and translate that to different corners of the community and how we manifest generosity, I think that's what we do. We look for those kinds of examples and we manifest our own.
Giving back to our community is a calling. And people do it in so many great ways. They give money, they give time, they give effort. But sometimes they need guidance in how to do that. And the people who are out there asking folks need some guidance in how to ask. And Barb's 36 lessons that are collected stories from people who knew her very, very well. They give you the guidance on how to be a good human being, on how to ask people for support, building up a community, to show them the benefit of getting involved and giving back. And so I want to hand those books out to the next generation of folks who are going to build on the legacy that Barb's left for us all.
For future generations, what does that do to your heart?
It gives me hope for the next generation, the fact that she's has found a way to make that message easily available, and hopefully young people will want to read it as much as we do, and that is the message we need desperately in this world today. And particularly young people are looking for something to cling on to, and the messages she's leaving behind are giving them that opportunity. So I'm very, very thrilled with the fact that this book has come out and is available for everybody to have an opportunity to read.
This kind of work engages you in all kinds of aspects of the community. The grant-making part of our work is very compelling. To be able to see where you can put a little bit of money and make a big difference.
the opportunity of working with people who are working in their very best mode, because when they're thinking philanthropically, I think you're catching people at the height of what they can be.